Welcome back, everyone, to And Rolling. Chink. Wow. Okay. This movie was a treat. I think this podcast is actually going to be our first session of couples therapy, honestly.
Oh.
That's how I feel about this movie. This movie was interesting. What movie did we see, Maddie?
We saw Babygirl.
Yep, we did. And do you want to give a fun little synopsis about Babygirl?
Yes, absolutely I do. So Babygirl stars Nicole Kidman as the titular baby girl.
Yeah.
And she plays this woman named Rami something, and she's the CEO of this robotics automated warehouse company. And so she's very high profile. She's filming all of these little info adverts and whatnot.
Woman CEO.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Boss babe.
Yeah.
And she's walking. Oh, and I should say she's married to Antonio Banderas, who is a high profile theatrical director. And they have two young daughters. Young as in they're not out of high school. One's clearly in middle school or late elementary school.
I think she's 17 or 18, the oldest one.
Yeah. She's a teenager.
Yeah.
And one day Nicole Kidman is walking down the street to her office, and a huge dog is attacking a man and then runs directly towards her.
Yep.
But a young man calls it back with one whistle and has a treat in his pocket, and that turns out to be one of her new interns at her company. And she is clearly fascinated by him. And sorry, this is start and stop, but
you're doing good.
He signs up for a mentorship program, and even though she doesn't want to be a mentor, he finds her name on the list and becomes her mentee.
Mm-hmm.
They have one meeting, and he seems to know everything about her deepest, darkest desires.
This dude's a mind reader.
Yes.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And there's a Christmas party where she's kind of watching him, and he takes off his tie, and the next morning she finds the tie in the small pile of trash that the cleaners are doing, and she takes the tie and she
gobbles it up,
shoves it in her mouth.
Yum yum.
And things just escalate, so they begin having an affair.
Yep.
It very quickly becomes clear that he's not exclusive to her. He's also seeing someone else from the office, but she's really letting things kind of get out of control. He shows up at her house. She doesn't like that. She tries to end it, and then he says, "Well, I don't feel comfortable with you being my supervisor. I'm going to ask for a transfer." And she's like, "Don't do that. They'll ask questions about why you want that. They'll find out. I'll be fired." And he's like, I'm going to do it. So she spirals, and then that never happens.
I mean, they basically have a meeting, and then he's like,
"You'll do whatever I say."
Yeah, and then
she says, "I'll do whatever you say." And so it continues, and eventually her coworker finds out.
I mean, I think she just found out because of she's her assistant, basically.
Yeah, and she comes and she's like, "You've really let me down."
With this promotion.
Yeah, that was kind of a carrot dangled in front of this woman the whole movie.
Yeah.
She's like, "You've really let me down. I expect more from a woman in power, but here's what you're going to do. You're never going to see Samuel again, who's the young man. You are going to give me my promotion, not more than what I'm due, but what I am due. And you're going to be the example for women that we need." This assistant character, Esme, she's also the girl that Samuel is dating. And clearly their relationship is not what his and Nicole's relationship is.
No, very different. At least that's what's
they actually go out and do things. She brings him to a party. They're clearly dating in the true sense of they have excursions that they are doing together.
Yes.
It's not just hooking up.
Right.
He and Nicole are just hooking up.
That's true. Yeah, because it's an affair. I mean,
Yeah.
there's an explicit connotation with that, I think.
Well, anyway,
But
her husband finds out. He's really upset, and he tells her to get out of the house. So she goes to their vacation home,
their countryside home.
they live in New York, but they have a house out in the country. So she goes there,
just a little outside of London, dear. You know.
And she is like living there, and then Samuel shows up, and of course the night that Samuel shows up, her husband also shows up, and they have like a little brawl, and then nothing happens. It like flashes forward a little bit, and a guy comes into her office and is like, "Hey, where's that cool intern that bought me a coffee? I heard he got transferred, or he like took up a job in Tokyo. Did you have anything to do with that? My wife's not going to be in town, and I have a house to myself. You should come over for a drink and tell me all about it." And she says like, "If I'm going to be humiliated, I'm going to pay for someone to do that. Don't talk to me like that, and also go fuck yourself." And that's
the movie.
That's it.
Yep. That's the movie.
Oh, with the exception of it ends with her and Antonio Banderas having sex, and she actually comes, which she says that she's never done once with him before in their 19 years of being together.
Yeah, that's true. Where do you want to start with this? Do you want to start with characters and then delve into some deeper themes maybe, or do you want to do themes then characters? Because I think that the characters are interesting, and I feel like you need to understand them in order to understand some of the themes.
Well, let's go there then.
Okay. I guess we'll start with Nicole Kidman. She's the main.
Rami, whatever. Rami.
Yep. Rami. Yeah.
Rami.
What do you think about Nicole's character?
Well, so Nicole's character seems to be driven almost exclusively by sex.
Yeah.
Like that. So she's like, her inner self, I think truly is like the most important thing to her about her inner self is that she's sexual.
Yes.
But then she feels this great pressure to live up to expectations that are external to her. So she really cares about like what her daughters look like. She cares about like how people perceive her. It's just like deeply at odds with what she actually wants to express, because in her sexual fantasy that we see at the end that she's clearly thinking about, as Antonio Banderas does, like the final sex scene is Antonio Banderas kind of acting out her first sex scene with Samuel, who's played by Harris Dickinson.
Yes.
And she's visualizing Samuel in that same setting where that took place, but Samuel is training a dog, and clearly she is the dog. Like, that's how she sees herself. She says to Antonio Banderas that she has had these like horrible depraved thoughts for as long as she can remember.
Yeah.
And she apparently grew up in cults, but that's not really explained much in
there's like a brief couple flashbacks to where it's like it looks like it's from Jesus Camp. You know what that documentary?
Yeah, it does.
And it's like, okay, like, look, I'm not going to deny that this is like kind of weird, but it is like it doesn't go into detail.
It's kind of, again, it's not important in her mind in any way beyond like maybe an explanation for why she feels she's sexually depraved.
It's an explanation for her name. That's why it's explained in the movie. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
She doesn't even bring it up in conversation with other characters as to why that's why she feels like she's
She does
deprived.
with Antonio Banderas when she's explaining why she had an affair.
Okay, I must have missed
that. She's saying, like, I thought that it was because of the way that I grew up, and like that. I think that she talks about her name as a way to establish that she had an atypical upbringing, and then like that's foreshadowing or like groundwork for her conversation with Antonio.
Okay, sure.
Antonio's name in the show is Jacob. Just putting that out there.
Because it's sort of important to the plot. That's her and Samuel's safe word.
Twisted.
Dude, okay, it's funny that you bring up the dog thing, because I think that this is not about themes, but this has to do with the movie making itself, in my opinion, is it really frustrated me when at the end they show the dog, him training the dog. I'm like, yeah, I fucking get it. Like, I knew that before.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just like, I felt it frustrated me because I was like, are you seriously saying that your audience is so stupid that they couldn't figure out that she wanted to be treated like a dog? She literally licks milk off of a dish like a cat, bro. Like,
yeah. No, I don't think that was like meant to hammer the audience home. I think that was like the ultimate, like, we're that was the first time we were seeing image wise, like on screen, what her self concept is. I think it was more of like a pinnacle. We had been given clues externally of how she sees herself.
mm-hmm.
And that was the moment that we finally entered her mind and we saw her as she sees herself. That's my interpretation of that.
That's fair. I mean, I kind of thought that was obvious for, like, since...
I don't think it's a matter of it not being obvious.
No.
It is. It's
I know, but I'm saying I didn't need the visual, I feel, personally. I was just kind of like, why? Like, I get it, you know? But I feel like I didn't need a lot of the visuals in this movie, honestly. I'm very, like, oddly enough, like, I don't know why I'm being so puritanical about it, but I'm just like, God damn, this movie was weird. Like...
Going off of the whole dog thing.
Yeah.
That took me back to college. I took a class for that. Remember the sophomore year focal seminar that you had to take?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The one that I took was on Jewish media and, like,
okay,
art.
Sure.
But, like, performance specifically around the Holocaust.
Oh, yeah, because you talked about, like, Casablanca and stuff like that.
Yes.
As being part
And
of this.
so we read, like, some plays, we read some scripts, we saw some movies, and we had to watch some on our own. And one of the ones that I had to watch on my own was this movie starring Jeff Goldblum, and he plays in the movie, he's a former comedic actor who during the Holocaust survived because the commandant of the concentration camp wanted him to act like a dog. So he pretended to be a dog.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was
Okay. That is
it was And so this movie takes place after the Holocaust. He is in Israel. He's in a hospital and he is, like, kind of rehabilitated.
Mm-hmm.
But he will have flashbacks to being in this camp, being this dog. And importantly, there's some sex scenes with nurses where
he's a dog.
And they are also he makes like they have to feed into his fantasy.
Okay, gotcha.
And it was such an uncomfortable watch. And this movie brought me back to watching that.
Yes.
Like, and we had to watch it for class. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah. Let's move on to another character.
Well, I've never been able to look at Jeff Goldblum in the same way.
No, I don't think I would. I never knew that Jeff Goldblum did those types of roles, but I mean, good for Jeff, I guess.
Again, like, it was such a great performance. It made me so deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like 6 years on, and I'm still just
reeling from it.
Well, not even 6. It's more than
that.
No,
it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Woo.
And it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, still gets me.
Okay, I guess you should talk about number 2, which is Samuel. Yeah.
Samuel's a magician.
I'm honestly, I will say this. Samuel, for lack of a better term, has got some big balls on him. Like, this man was like, I'm going to risk my entire future to sleep with the CEO. And I'm like, impressive. Like, not in the sense of, like, once he gets it accomplished, he's risking his career, but, like, the fact, because he's the one who brings it up. He's the one who's like...
I was really struggling to understand a motivation for him.
I think no, he's just for lack of a better term, he's a whore. You know what I mean? Like, he is.
It's interesting.
And that's okay. It's
well,
just
again,
like,
and I say magician because he just, like, inherently knows that Nicole Kidman wants to be dominated.
Yes, like how does he know that? Like they have their little so in the movie they have their little one-on-one.
Yeah.
And it's instead
And
of
she asks him, "How did you calm that dog?" Well, that's actually they're getting coffee. That's before their one-on-one.
right, yeah.
And she makes him get her coffee. Anyway,
Yes.
yeah, he just seems to like inherently know that's what she wants.
Yeah,
But
he's like, I think you like being told what to do. And it's
yeah.
like, what?
And I mean, I think there is some like testing the waters, but it escalates so quickly.
It is obviously like it's not like he's like saying that in like a professional business setting.
Like
it is clearly
you
a
want
sexual
me to like
right.
yeah.
Like because he like smirks and smiles when he says it, and I'm just like, this is unprofessional to say the least. Like there is no way that any HR representative would be sitting in this meeting and being like, all good, that's kosher.
Right.
Like
no, for sure. And like it's interesting to me because he enacts in some ways this reverse fantasy of what like I feel like what men claim that young women do to them, where it's like, oh, they were powerless until I slept with them, and then suddenly they like were gonna ruin me, which you know, like he really was that. Like he did like seduce her and then flip it. Not that she wasn't like very amenable to being seduced.
I mean, yeah, maybe that's an interesting thing, I guess, as the relationship keeps going, because it clearly seems like she would be the one more affected than him if this were to come out because of the power imbalance, I guess. I don't know. We'll touch on that in a second because I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about that. But yeah, no, Samuel's weird.
He has the worst tattoos too.
And also, hold on. Okay,
Let's paint a visual picture.
He's got tattoos.
Not just tattoos. He has bad tattoos.
Yeah, I know.
He has bad tattoos. His like non-day job outfit is a wife beater with a gold chain.
He looks like he's in the Russian mafia, guys.
Yes,
that's the best way I can describe it.
With like a very accurate for the haircut.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like
he looks like one of those. He looks like one of those Europeans where you're like, oh, buddy, like you have that like standard definition like YouTube video where they're like shooting a firework off in a trash can, and that's this dude. Like, you know, that's. I mean,
visual picture painted, I think.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah.
And then, and okay, as from the female perspective, or the male attracted perspective. Was this guy hot?
Okay, no, not to me.
Right, because I didn't think so either.
I will say we saw the actor in Iron Claw, and I found him hot in Iron Claw.
He looked completely. His haircut looks like shit in this movie.
Yeah, no,
like,
his hair's bad.
Well,
his hair's bad, and I didn't like the way that he behaved.
Right.
Like,
right.
It wasn't. He was not some like I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to like not like other girls but I don't feel like that would have worked on me. I didn't like the mind games that he played. That was not attractive to me.
He's the most. Not only does he look like he's a Russian mafia member, like if you take away the tattoos, he's like generic white boy. Like the haircut is like super basic.
Well, but I think that was pretty intentional.
I agree that it was intentional, but I'm just kind of like, there's nothing captivating about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like Hugh Grant, for example, in a lot of his like he's British, but he's got like a suave about him, and like his hairstyle, or like the way that his hair flows. I'm like, okay, I can see it. You know what I mean? But this guy, I'm just like, I'm not picking up on this.
And
at
I
all.
will say, Antonio Banderas, he looked very good in this movie. He was, you know,
right. That's the thing that's maybe that's supposed to be the weird dichotomy, I guess, like on purpose.
Yeah. Antonio Banderas in this movie is very loving, very attentive.
Yeah, they have this like pseudo fight in the middle where she like pushes him away and he's like, "You've never made me orgasm." And he's like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And like doesn't push her
very
away.
patient.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like Sweetie McSweetheart.
We should transition to Antonio Banderas, I guess. How did you feel about his character?
I felt fine. Like,
I related the most to his character, I guess, in the sense of like I felt for what he was feeling. You know, like because I didn't understand the other guy at all. And Nicole Kidman, I was like, wow, just making mistake after mistake after
do you
mistake.
know this movie was like, you know how when you're watching I Love Lucy and it's like Lucy makes all of the wrong choices and it's funny there. This was like watching I Love Lucy but without a laugh track, and all of the wrong choices continue to snowball but to like a painful effect.
Yes. Well, and also like there are comedic moments in this movie, like
my god,
and
this
I
movie
don't
was
and
funny.
I don't think that's intentional. I think that
Our
was incredibly
whole
unintentional.
For several sections.
We should talk about not only the characters in the movie, but the characters in our theater.
We had some characters in our theater. So again, we were in the back row, and there was a couple, like one set of seats over to our left, and then in front of us there was two girls, and then to the right of them there were three girls.
Yeah, and the two girls in front of us were like young, and then
they were probably early 20s.
Young, and it's an R-rated movie, and the three girls to the right of us were like middle-aged.
Yes,
and like that's the demographic that we had.
Those three women were chatting the whole movie.
The whole time. I was like, oh.
They have their own commentary going on.
You know when you watch a movie with your mom and she's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Damn. I was like, oh my God, guys, come on. Like, there is not a lot happening in this movie that you cannot keep up with.
Yeah. So that was happening. That was happening. And then the people to our left had a million plastic bags that they were trying to open during all of the quiet, important scenes.
Yeah, it's not like they did it when it was like, okay,
there's
like,
a club
music.
scene. There's a club scene that goes on for a long time in this movie, and there was no opening of candy there.
No.
But during like the quiet, important, pivotal moments, that's where you'd hear like a ton, crinkles,
like, dude, what are we doing?
Shuffling. It was
bad.
We've had two pretty rough theater experiences, and then at the end, so we stay through the credits. That's just like something we do. The two girls in front of us, one of them had lost their phone, so they're talking loudly, and that's fine.
Yeah,
and
the
they're standing in front of us. It's fine. And then at the end, they turn to me and they're like, "Did you like the movie?" And I was like, "It was something." And they said, "It was something." And then Matthew said something.
I was like, well, I think you said something. I was like, yeah, it was interesting.
And they said, well, we really don't care about your opinion.
I know. I was like, okay, fair enough.
This is for the girlies.
Yeah. I was like, I mean, you got me there. Like, I knew it was for the girlies. Because there's been those TikTok trends. Have you seen that? Where they're like
wiping the seat at the end. Have
Whoa.
you not seen that?
I have not seen that.
Okay, that's what I saw.
Okay.
I saw a bunch of people, maybe it was just like a couple people, but I kept seeing these videos of them like being like at the end of Babygirl, and they're like wiping the seat down with a wipe.
God.
And I was like, I did not feel that way, but go off. Happy for you, queens.
Yeah, I have not seen that. No, I've seen the ones where it's like taking my boyfriend to the movie theater.
Oh,
but we're
I
actually
saw one
seeing
of
Babygirl,
those.
and he's like not happy about it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, real weird because it's like the toxic masculinity is showing in these guys, and the women are like, haha, isn't my boyfriend so funny? He doesn't like doing things with me. And it's like, no, that's like concerning, but whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anyway, so then these girls wished me a very good night, and I was like, thank you.
Yeah. It was a treat. Yeah, and but anyways.
Then the only other characters that like really mean anything are her two girls.
And really only the one girl means anything.
The older
I don't know
girl,
why they had the other one. Sorry, keep going.
The older girl, halfway through, it becomes clear that she knows that her mom is having an affair, and she's the one that goes to the country house and is like, "Mom, you need to come home," when they've been like estranged. And so actually that is Ewan McGregor's daughter.
Is it? What?
Yeah. Yep.
Wait.
Yep.
How old is she? Isn't she older?
Dude, I don't know.
I thought she was older.
Well, does he have?
Maybe he has 2 daughters.
Well, yeah, he has multiple daughters, but I thought they were younger.
Oh.
I thought they were like.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know much about Ewan's personal life, really, except he was married to a girl at one point. Knew that.
Spot on there.
Yep.
And yeah, and then the other character that like means anything is her assistant Esme. And Esme is
I feel bad for Esme, actually.
Yeah.
There's 2 characters I feel really bad for in this movie, and it's Esme and Jacob.
So
like,
Esme really works hard, and she's very good at her job. Nicole Kidman says this multiple times. And throughout the movie, she's like, can we talk about my promotion now? And Nicole kind of keeps putting her off until she makes it clear that she knows about Samuel.
Yeah.
And she really wants... She brings up at one point that she wants to start this initiative to get more women in the corporate world. Yeah, through their company specifically. And so that's really what her goal is. She admires Nicole because she's a woman who made it in a tech field as a CEO.
Yep.
And she wants to pull more people up with her as she continues to be promoted. So she's like very idealistic,
cool.
and there's not much like else about her. Somehow her and Samuel have a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
They have a relationship, and I would be we don't see any of that. I would have been really interested to see like some of their one-on-one.
The POV is very much through the eyes of Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, that's really all you get.
That is it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right.
What did you think about some of the... So we'll go into some of the themes of the movie. I think that this movie is interesting because it's very, I would argue, not theme heavy, and then all of a sudden very deep.
Oh, say more.
Like, so I feel like the movie is like, I guess for lack of a better term, it's like it feels like a softcore porn movie. And then you're like, okay, I'm here. We're along for the ride. And then about halfway through, it's just like, and like, there's very much this like, oh, we can't do this. It's a secret. And it's like, okay, but that's not really a theme. That's like a fantasy sort of a thing. You know, it's like, we're just living out a fantasy. And then all of a sudden, it's very much like, you're doing wrong here. We need to fix that. And you can't do X, Y, Z. And we need to empower women. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
I can't say that I agree with what you're saying.
Then hit me with what you're saying.
Because I think there are several themes at play from the very beginning. Power, class.
Okay, I feel like the more I was thinking about it, I was like, maybe this is actually a class-based movie, but I'm not sure.
Well, what I was gonna say is, so it's power, right? Like the there's a lot of things that are kind of inverted. So the idea that the intern has power over the CEO, but then that the intern is a man and not a woman, and the CEO is a woman and not a man. These like are interesting power and gender dynamics that are inverted, but yet somehow still the same. Yeah. And then, but when I think about class, like class didn't really make much of a point except for like visual, because she never offers him hush money. It's never like, I'll pay you to not say anything or to go away. It's never like, oh, he wants her to like, he never asks her for money for himself. Like the first time they meet, it's in a really dingy hotel because he presumably paid for it and does not have money. And the next time it's in a very expansive hotel, but that's the only like benefit that we see him reap from this relationship, financially speaking.
No, I agree with you.
But in their wardrobe, it's very clear that they're different classes. Like even his first day, something I noticed was like his shirt had really poorly ironed marks. You know, like when you iron something and you kind of press into it and then there's a little crease and edge.
You know from my previous employment that I am not a good ironer. Yeah. You know that I can't notice iron spots, and I'm just not good at it.
Right,
so no, I
but it looked like someone had haphazardly ironed his shirt, which is like such a small detail.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then like, yeah, it's just, well, one of the things costume wise that I wanted to point out too is like, in terms of talking about Nicole Kidman's character and how she's really obsessed with how people perceive her, she never wears comfortable pajamas. She's in these skimpy lingerie looking slip pajamas that are like silky, and they're really low cut and they're really high cut on the leg. And that is, I was just like, even
and it's like January.
It's like Christmas.
It's Christmas time. Yeah.
Even in her own home with her husband, or even when she's not staying with her husband and she's been isolated into her country house, she's still wearing these slip pajamas that have got to be cold.
Oh, 100%.
So just again, like what she's presenting and that facade, it never cracks.
Well, I mean, okay, so I feel like this is an interesting class movie from the perspective of, well, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things at play because, like, Jacob's like, do you want to, or not Jacob, Samuel's like, do you want to lose everything? Like, and she's like, no. And he's like, but it feels like you do. And I'm like, here's the problem, is she won't lose everything. Like, she makes a lot of money. Like, she probably has a lot of money, and if something were to happen, she has she can hire a way better lawyer. She can, like, there are resources available to her in a way that is not available to him, you know?
Yeah, but flip that around. I don't know that for her, like, yeah, for her it's partly the business, but it's more about loss of reputation, which would come with her children knowing what happened, her husband knowing what happened. And really, I think everything for her boils down to control. She's deeply in control of her family, and like the facade that she's presenting there.
Right.
She's deeply in control of her company. The same thing. Like there's really no talk about the financial implications. And so that's where I'm like, I actually don't know that class was really much of anything except for like character development for them.
Yeah.
And like the happenstance of the story that they wanted to tell, it kind of had to have him be lower class.
Yeah. I mean, I know that it doesn't play, like, they never mentioned it explicitly. I guess they never mentioned it explicitly, and I guess I'm implying things based off what I have seen. Money and, like, in the real world, money and power mean a lot.
There wouldn't have been any need to hire a lawyer, though, because, like, he wasn't underage. He was just an intern. It wasn't like she was doing anything illegal where she would have been, like, she would have just lost her job, and you can't really, like, sue, you know, because, like, that would have been grounds for termination. There wasn't much of, like,
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but I know of a company where this sort of thing happened in real life and nothing happened to the CEO.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't say what that company is.
Do I know this?
Do you know the company?
Yeah.
You do know the company? Everyone here is aware of the company, but I can't personally say who that company is. So anyways, yeah, no, I mean, I just feel like the money stuff is, I just informed Maddie on a story for everyone if they're like noticing a weird tonal shift here, so that they can, so that Maddie's aware of what's happening here.
I got the tea, guys.
Right.
Sorry we can't give it to you, but.
Right. Yeah.
If you know us in person,
yeah, you'll be
out.
like, that's crazy.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, I'll let you know. But no, I mean, so I think that this is the thing, is there's vastly more resources, and the other thing is I've seen CEO, I mean, and you see the same thing with other people, like, I mean, I know this is there's a different gender thing going on here, but like Louis C.K., where he got all of those stuff, where he did all of those terrible things to those women, and everyone was like, and he got canceled for a while, I guess, for lack of a better term, and now he's selling out shows at Madison Square Garden again. You know what I mean? It's just like,
I never liked him, by the way.
Fair enough. But it's just like, you sit there and it's just like the power in terms of not just like the money plays such a role, because like if something were to happen to the intern, he's on the streets. If something were to happen to her, oh no, she'll have to like sell her countryside home or something. You know what I mean?
I know that. I know that. But
No, I know you know that.
I think you're looking at it not from you're looking at it from like reality, but
Right.
in the universe of this movie,
Yeah.
he never seemed to care about that. He was
No, he didn't
not
care at
trying to extort her for anything beyond power and control. That's the currency that they were dealing in.
Yeah, that's
and so
fair.
that's where I'm like, the class portion to them really didn't seem to make much of a difference, except for when she booked the hotel, it got to be fancier.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true.
It's very like the guy from Game of Thrones that's like, I deal in secrets. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
that's the currency that's what matters to him. And so for them, it's power and control.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I mean, from the things that are explicit in the movie, it's really not mentioned.
And not that we shouldn't look at it through the lens of like the real world that we're living in, because this is clearly like not a fantasy world, right? But just to say like,
which I think is an interesting choice, but keep going.
For the characters, class didn't really come up.
No.
It was position in the company, sure, but the class part was very understated.
Yeah. I found it very interesting. When the movie first started, I don't know, till about halfway, the first half of this movie, I was like, oh, this is like a fantasy world. And then, I guess when all of the stuff...
Why did you think that?
What do you... Well, because it's just, it seemed so ridiculous, because like Samuel is such a mind reader, and like they just it happens so quickly, and she like sees this. I mean, I guess, hear me out, I'm not Nicole Kidman's character, but like if I saw a man or a woman call a dog, like recall a dog after that dog was attacking someone, I wouldn't be like, that's the one. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, are you serious? Like, that happens, and she's like, that's it.
But
that's
then
the dude.
Doesn't that final scene make sense where she sees herself as the dog?
No, I get it. I get all of that. I'm just kind of like, really? Like, I find it a far stretch, personally, that someone like that one normal occurrence throughout a day happens and someone's like, damn, I am turned on. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it's like if someone like opens the door and they're like, holy shit, do you see how that person opened that door? Whoa. Like, maybe if they do it eccentrically, but like all he did was call the damn dog. There's nothing special about this. I'm just saying.
Except that the dog listened and she wanted to listen.
She wanted to listen.
That's what it is.
I know. Yeah.
I didn't think it was a fantasy world, but it was.
But I'm also not the demographic for this movie. That's the thing.
Yeah, you're not one of the girlies.
I'm not one of the girlies.
Although, frankly, I don't know that the girlies is the demographic for this either. I mean, it was such
Who do
an
you
interesting.
think is the demographic for this movie? This movie is an odd demographic, I feel, but maybe not.
Well, I think that question could be answered by like, what was the movie asking, and like, you know, because I guess I don't have an answer for that, because it's like, okay, so it turns this like tried plot of young woman intern, male CEO affair on its head. And so I think for me, it's like, well, is it trying to show that women are no better than men when it comes to power? Or is it trying to show that like even a woman in power can't be respected by men? You know, it's...
So what you said before, where it's like, oh, women are just the same, is towards the end what I thought it was trying to say, which I found confusing, because I was just like, I don't know, that's not really exactly what I would think, but then I'm not sure. I'm just kind of like, I don't know what this movie's trying to say, if it's trying to say anything. And I think that's the interesting bit about it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I could agree with that.
Yeah.
I think for me, for the most part, what I was thinking while watching this was like, wow, even you're just watching this CEO, like the pinnacle of where a woman could be in a company, be disrespected and like devalued over and over and over again by the lowest that a man could be in the company. You know what I mean?
In some ways, I guess that's the class thing. Like, this is a very communistic movie in that sense, I guess. Just like, fuck capitalism, you know? I don't know. Maybe that's what it's trying to say.
Well, but then it was like, but she liked it. She wanted it. And does that make it not feminist? Does it make it feminist because it's showing that women's desires don't have to be neat and tidy or align, like feminism, it's like, yeah, we want women to be able to do what they want and to be valued and to, not have to be pushed into societal norms. So is it feminist to show it? Is it not feminist because it's degrading? It's
I mean, that's fair.
These are this is where everything about this movie was sort of like an oxymoron. I think that's where even the point that's coming across is an oxymoron.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think that it's interesting that where it's like, oh, like women's desires can be messy, and I'm like, yeah, I agree.
In some ways, the perfect follow up to Nosferatu.
I guess, yeah, it is in a sense. Yeah, it was this or Moana 2, guys. For just so everyone was knowing what we were going up against. It was like, do you want to see Babygirl or do you want to see Moana 2? And that was our.
Babygirl.
We chose Babygirl. That was our decision. We said, yeah, that's what we want to do with our Sunday night.
Interestingly, what I remember, I saw a clip of Nicole Kidman being like, I read the script and I thought, I want to be the Babygirl, which is such an interesting response to that script.
But you know what? I thought about this. So hold on. Back to what you were saying about I want to bring that up a second.
Okay.
But what you were saying about the feminist thing, like, yes, I agree with that. I don't know if this was the appropriate movie for that, in the sense of, like, I feel like that Nicole Kidman's character, it's not like she's like a single woman or anything. Like, she's making, as Antonio Banderas points out, he's like, you put our children in jeopardy. And it's like, I think that my problem with it is I have a moral problem with people putting their children in jeopardy, I guess. Like, I understand Antonio Banderas' point there. And I'm like, maybe, hear me out, like a movie explaining the complexities about the human psyche is not like, I mean, or maybe it's just trying to show that it's more complex in the same way that you're saying this is an oxymoron, and it's not saying that this is good. Because maybe it's, I guess,
I don't think
it's saying that it's good.
This movie is trying to say that it's good.
That's a fair point.
I think that this movie is trying to show a sliver of reality.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because like the daughter, we see the daughter stepping out on her girlfriend. They go to their country house and her mom sees her in the pool with the neighbor girl kissing. And they have a little conversation about it, and her daughter's like, I'm in love with Mary, but I was having fun with Ophelia. And later, when the daughter comes to her mom and is like, you have to come home, Dad is doing really poorly and he needs you. And
he's reading the Bible.
Yeah. That's how you know that
Which is another funny part of the movie. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
That's how you know that Antonio Banderas is doing so poorly, because he's reading the Bible. But she's like, Mary forgave me. I know Dad will forgive you.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like, I think that that's one of those, it's not condemning outright, because this is something that people go through. And sometimes, people leave each other for it. And sometimes they're able to say, like, no, we're going to stay together. And that, I'm not saying one way is good, one way is bad. I'm just saying that I don't think that this movie was really focused on the affair portion in that way. I think it was more concerned about Romy's, like, not sexual awareness, because she was always aware of her sexuality, but like actualization.
Yeah. Well, and like, I guess I do appreciate this movie for like showing that relationships in the world are messy and complicated.
Right.
And like that's good on that movie. I think that's but this is where I'm like, oh, this isn't. I think we're like I went into this movie thinking that this was going to be like one of those like it was going to be one of those like fun romance novels, where it's like there's a little bit of drama at the end. Okay, whatever, but like all in all, everyone's hunky dory and happy, and that is not what this movie is,
And yet,
and yet it is. It's weird,
right? Because so she says that she needs to have consequences, like things need to be at risk for her to enjoy having sex, but like it turns out that nothing really was ever at risk. He apparently we don't even see him be offered this job in Japan. We don't see that ending conversation. We just like skip forward some undefined amount of time where he's gone and she's still with her husband. She's having sex that she's enjoying with her husband.
Right.
And she's still at the top of her company. Like, truly, nothing apparently was ever at stake, but she felt that they were, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Okay, going back to what you were saying about the script thing really quick.
Yeah.
I found it, okay, this is an unsettling thing, like, a weird click moment that I had in my head. Where I was just when they're in the hotel room and he's like telling her to do stuff and everything. And she's like, oh, I want to, especially after you said that she was like, I want to be the baby girl or whatever. I was like, this feels like a weird, like Weinstein fantasy thing happening here.
Yeah.
And like, and I know that that's like the point or whatever, but I was just like, ooh, like this is sketch, guys. Like,
the way after she kind of ends it and then they have their second one-on-one meeting and he's like, I need you to consent, and she's like, well, I don't want to do it, but I will if it's what keeps you from going to HR essentially. And he's like, consent is just you saying you'll do it, and like we two parties agree to something. And basically I took that conversation to mean that he's saying like consent isn't you wanting something or liking it, it's just you agreeing that it will happen. And that was like a very grim outlook on that. And so it's this point. Really kind of like it's very gray. It's not black and white in that moment about whether she really wants to be doing this or whether he's like she just can't bring herself to say it and he's giving her space to vocalize these wants that are so deep within inside her. But like it was a really dodgy moment. And then that hotel room, she's like, he says, take off your dress for me, and she's like, I don't want to, and he says, but you will. And she's like, I will. And so she does. But just it's this really complex narrative where, she clearly in the end came out for the better. But I would argue yes. I think it's that my interpretation of it is that her desires, she thinks, are so taboo. And to be fair, I didn't think they were that taboo. Like, I would say in the generic sense, I would say the licking milk off a saucer and acting like a cat was a little taboo. Yeah, but all of those, like, not now kitten, like, that's coming from something. Like, they sell those like when you were streaming and you had to wear that French maid costume. Yeah, it came with cat ears and a cat collar. Like, that's something that people like. So that's just what I'm saying. Like, if people are selling on Amazon.com little outfits that make you look like a cat, I don't think it's that taboo.
Okay, but to be fair, I think that since everything is sold on Amazon.com, we cannot use Amazon.com as a general.
But you understand what I'm saying. Fair enough. But you understand what I'm saying, where, like, if it's coming in, like, a prepackaged lingerie outfit, I think that it's fair to say it's not, like, crazy taboo.
I would argue that there's nothing that happens, generally speaking, in this movie like I think that if someone's doing that,
You
I'd be like,
called
it's
it
a little
soft
weird.
core. It's not vanilla, but
No,
it's not like it's not criminal. It's not,
it's definitely not. No,
it whatever. Like,
right,
okay, but for her it's so deep seated that that it's so shameful and hard to articulate
right.
that she really can't, and she never, the only person she really articulates it to is Antonio Banderas after it's happened. She's like
Yes.
using him to like act it out in a way that then she can explain it to Antonio.
Well,
So
and
like
even then,
wait,
she lies to him too, which is weird too. But keep going.
well, what do you mean by that?
Like when she's telling him the first time, like she's processing a lot of her emotions and still lying about like how many times she's seen him and stuff
Right.
like that.
So yeah, I don't think that had anything to do with her feeling ashamed of anything beyond like having to tell her partner that she'd slept with someone
Fair
else.
enough. Yeah.
But in the beginning, so the very first scene of the movie is Antonio Banderas and Nicole Kidman having sex, and it's
a strong opener.
It's a strong opener, and she immediately goes, after they're done, she goes to another room, pulls up porn on her laptop, and like finishes. But she initially asks him like to cover her face with a pillow, and then there's another
Yeah.
part where they're going to like start having sex, and she pulls the sheet up around her, and she's telling him to like touch her while she's covered.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't do that, so she then takes the sheet off. But later, after this has gone down,
Mm-hmm.
in that final scene, they're both under the cover together. She lets him in to that like shameful part where they're able to be under that cover,
Yeah, I
hidden
totally missed
together,
that.
communicating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I missed that part. Well, and it's interesting. Well, during that scene where she like puts the cover over her head and then she puts the pillow over her face or whatever, she's like, do whatever you want or whatever. And he's like, no, like, I feel like the villain. And I was kind of like, yeah, fair enough, man. Like,
No, that
this is
I was
not-
also like, yeah, that is dehumanizing.
Right. Exactly. Like, this is not great. And
Importantly, too, in that first sex scene, she's on top. And then in the last one, she's laying on her stomach face down.
yeah. Which
Which is also the position she takes when she's watching porn. Like,
yeah. Which
just
is,
pointing out some of these like parallels
yeah.
that kind of thread throughout.
I mean,
the
but like,
movie.
what's the significance of that? I guess.
Well,
Just that she feels comfortable that way or something. I don't know.
it's just that like at the beginning, she's on top. She's not in a role that she wants in that relationship.
Oh,
And
okay. I see what you're saying.
At
Okay,
the
okay,
end,
okay.
it's just better for her. She's getting what she wants.
Yeah. Okay. I get what you're saying now. Sure. Yeah. 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 It's an interesting film, I guess. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Okay, side notes on a few things real quick before we wrap up here. I thought the soundtrack was surprisingly good
Yeah.
in a weird way. Like it's very
it was
breathy.
Unexpected. Okay. Yeah, keep going.
It's just very breathy, and I felt like I was like, yeah, this is appropriate for what this movie is, and it adds in a nice bit of tension too, in a needed way. Sometimes though, when it goes into like their weird hip hop / pop music like scenes, I was like, I don't really care about this. But the like actual soundtrack, like original stuff, was good, I thought.
I actually thought all of it was good.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I will say, nothing in that movie will be funnier to me than Nicole Kidman standing in the corner of that dingy hotel room.
Oh my god.
And he's like, "What do you want?" And she's literally in the corner. You just see her back, and it's muffled like, "I don't know."
Yeah, I know. I was like, God damn, dude, this is fucking stupid.
That image, I kept going back to it because it happens in like maybe the first third of the movie.
Yeah.
So for the last two, I kept going back to it, and every time I thought about it, I wanted to like laugh out loud.
Well, it's funny. Like there were so many moments in this movie where I think that they were like trying to be sexy and hot. But I was just like, this is actually hilarious. Like, if I were in the situation, I would laugh my ass off. This is so fucking stupid. Like, I was just, oh.
Yeah, there were some painful little
What was that
moments.
one, like, I felt like the entire theater was trying not to laugh.
Well, it was when she got put in the corner.
No, I know, but then after that, there was another scene. I thought that, was it when they're like, man, maybe it was when she was licking the milk out of the saucer and doing some other stupid stuff in like a montage, and I was just like, what the?
I think that the theater, in part, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was interesting. Yeah. But,
so one thing that I really liked,
yeah.
they go to the club at one point, and the club montage is shown.
Okay,
like,
if you got epilepsy, don't watch this. God damn.
But I liked it. I thought that was
it was
cool.
good.
So it's like
I do feel like it captured the hecticness of.
Yeah, it's very
club.
like flashing, and so their movements, it's like frames are missing, and so
Yeah.
it's cutting in and out, and you're seeing them move in a different way. I just thought that was a fun sequence.
No, I thought it was good.
The other bit that I really liked was when you have that drone shot establishing their country house, and they're out as a little family of 4 taking that hike, and you go through the trees and down, and you're like, they're walking through
the woods.
Yeah.
I
don't know, I just liked it, and it felt
Yeah.
different from the other shots in that movie.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think that was a good.
Oh, I know when people were laughing.
Oh, when?
So he breaks a glass in the office.
Oh,
and
yes.
tells her to pick it up, and then starts kicking shards of this mug towards her.
Yeah.
And she just does it.
Yeah.
And I think everyone felt really uncomfortable and kind of giggled.
I also was like trying. I think I was like, I think I was more horrified than giggling when she started to eat the fucking tie. I was like, what is this? What is going on? I'm like, I would get it if someone was like, this is my thing. This is where I'm like, this movie, I guess that's the turning point for me, where I was just like, man, what is this movie? Or it started to click for me that I was like, this is not one of those fun romance books. Because I was like, if it was a fun romance book or something, she would pick up the tie and like sniff it and smell it and be like, oh, I want him. But instead, she's like, no, I am literally going to cannibalize this man. I'm like, what is going on?
They have
like,
a long segment where he's just putting his fingers in her mouth.
Yes.
And it's like a long, like, it happens for a lot longer than I think I was expecting.
I think that there were a lot of shots and like, well, not shots, but scenes in this movie that go on for a lot longer than I was expecting. I was just like, oh my God. Like the montages, some of the montages, you know how you have some movies where it's like you have a montage and it's people in like a hotel room and it's like a sexy montage and you're like, got it, cool. In this movie, I was like, it does that for a little bit and then the rest of it is just painful to watch. I feel like I am intruding.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in some ways, like, it was really committed to showing ugly sex.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like, you know, it in that way it is really similar to Nosferatu, of like, desire is not all rainbows and butterflies, and it like, the underbelly of desire can be that, like, you want to be humiliated in Nicole Kidman's case, or in Nosferatu, like, you will sleep with a rotting corpse because they answered your call in the middle of the night when you were younger.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a disconnect there, but
I'm just saying, could have been more different.
and in Nosferatu, sometimes it will be an actual corpse, not like, I guess, literally a rotting corpse, because it's actually rotting, not a.
Maybe that's the pull for this one. Who would you rather sleep with, Nosferatu or the intern?
Yeah, maybe.
And oh man,
that'd be a tough one. That's a
That's saying
mm,
something when you're
mm.
like, maybe Nosferatu would be better than the intern.
Yeah, I don't think it would be.
I don't think it would be
No,
either.
I think that's a little unfair because the intern is alive.
Alive and not like actively rotting.
Yeah, like I give him credit there. Like, I did trash how unattractive he was, but I will say this: Nosferatu is definitely unattractive. So I know that as an objective fact. So if I had to choose with a gun to my head, I know what I would do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you liked or didn't like about the movie?
Well,
I feel like I've hit almost everything for me personally, but
it was very insular. Like, I got to the part where they had the birthday party for so they host a birthday party for her daughter, Nicole Kidman's daughter, and Esme and the intern show up. Esme is invited, and then she brings the intern as her date. And I was like, really? Do they not know anyone else besides the people they work with? Like,
yeah, I am like, why?
Are
dude,
all this company, like everyone's sleeping together.
The last thing I would do, like to my daughter, is invite one of my coworkers to her birthday party. I'm just kind of I feel like that's not what my daughter would want, but I don't know. But I feel like that's part of my frustration with this movie as well. Keep going with what you're saying, but.
Well, just that, like, that's the part to me, I guess, that felt very fantastical, is it's like, your whole world is these 5 people.
Yeah. I think the thing that I found, I also was frustrated with how insular the movie was, because I was also like, I feel like you got a little bit of this with Samuel and sort of with Jacob, where I was just like, do these other people not have feelings or desires? I mean, and I guess that's like the whole point is that Nicole Kidman becomes so blinded by her desires, I guess, that she starts to ignore other people. Because, like, her daughter's even like, where have you been? You haven't been yourself. And it's like, okay, her daughter realizes
and
this.
And she must have reeked when they had that conversation. Nicole Kidman comes home from the club and has not changed clothes, and her daughter's waiting up for her. And Nicole, like, first of all, they're at like a warehouse club. Like, it's like probably a rave.
It is a club, man.
And so she's sweating. There's a bunch of different people around.
Her hair looks like shit.
They smoke weed.
Yeah.
Like, and they had drinks. Like, she must have smelled so bad.
Yeah.
and like, it's not crazy detective work that her daughter's doing to figure out that, like, something's going on with her mom.
Oh, hell no. No, not at all. But it's like the fact that, like, she didn't notice that, or like think about, I don't know, think about other people. I don't know. I guess I just don't like how selfish her character was. Which, like, you don't need to like every character, but like I feel like her character was very selfish, and I personally didn't like that.
Well, I think the story was actually like trying to make this empowering.
Okay.
You know, it's not about, like, we're not looking at her being a wife, her being a mother, her being a CEO. Those are all secondary things to her being someone who's sexual.
Okay, I get. I see what you're saying. Empowering from a sexual point of view.
Well, and like because as we said, like, that's her main driving thing. Like, the way that she, I don't know, conceives of herself, it seems to be so all important to her.
I know. I just like, this is where it's interesting, because I feel like this movie it tries to encompass. It tries to show, like, complex relationships and, like, gray areas and stuff like that. But then at the same time, it focuses its characters in on one singular aspect of their life. And I just don't know of anyone in my personal life that makes one thing that's everything about them. And, like, everything else is secondary. Especially when there's other people that are super important. Like, human emotions, especially for, like, people who are close. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just, like, generally speaking, I'm like, there's usually a little bit more dynamicness at play. And I just feel like that was lacking a little bit, you know? Like, I think that her being a mother is important to her. I'm not saying it's the most important thing, but I think that's important to her. I mean...
Yeah.
She seems to bond with her child quite a bit in the movie.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not important. I think that you're
No,
right.
I know you're not. I know you're not saying that. I'm just saying that from a character's point of view, I wish that was more inclusive in the movie, or more a part of the movie. I guess
I don't
inclusive
think
isn't the
she's
right
supposed to
word.
be super likable. I don't think anyone in this movie is
Yeah,
likable. I think they're more concerned with being like truthful in some ways.
yeah,
And
yeah.
do I think they hit that? I guess it was
You know,
embellished,
yeah.
and like I don't know.
You know, maybe the whole point of the movie was that it was trying to show that the world isn't perfect and the movie's not perfect either. Now that's a really deep cut from some film bro in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there we go, guys.
Full
Okay, what would
participation.
you rate this movie? I feel like we've hit everything.
Like a 4.
Okay, cool. We're on the same page then. Because that's what I would rate it too. This is the first time we've agreed on a rating.
Ooh.
Wow. That's crazy. It's a first in the channel's history. Or, well, I guess it's not a channel. I'm thinking of YouTube, but podcast history. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no, I feel like it's like a 4.
I feel like performances were really strong.
Yeah.
But it was a muddled movie.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
And I didn't find it that empowering.
I also didn't find it visually enjoyable to watch most of the time, personally.
No, it was very, very painful. It was like it's like when you see a video and the comment, like the top comment was like, that was hard to watch.
It's like, it's like one of those things where it's like, I saw a TikTok where it's like a guy went into a restaurant and was like really acting really cringe on purpose for the video.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like part of me is like, the absurdist comedy, I understand, but then the other part of me is it's like, oh no, that was actually atrocious, and why would I want to watch that? Like I didn't seek that out. I just stumbled upon it. And it was like, okay, here I am. Interesting. And that's kind of how I felt about this movie. I was like, I'm here. It's happening. It's okay, I guess. And we're going. So, okay. Well, good. That was good.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time. Maybe, fingers crossed, we'll get to Moana 2. Taking a real tonal shift from where the podcast has been, honestly.
So we hope.
I'm kind of like, I need a tonal shift. This is if someone's like watching, if it's like 2035 and someone's like going through the backlog, like some teenager who has nothing to do right now, I feel real bad for him right now because I feel like this is rough. This is a rough patch where it's like, wow, this is depressing, So, but we'll figure it out.
I don't know. I didn't find either of them depressing. They were just like, wow.
Yeah, no, I don't. Maybe depressing isn't the right word, but like, you're like, oh, okay. Like, I would feel really bad if there was a teenager who was like, I'm gonna watch all of their movies and then I'm gonna listen to the podcast, and like they've seen, what have they've seen Gladiator, Nosferatu, and now this, and it's like,
and Conclave.
Ooh, Conclave is good though.
Oh yeah, but it's not like a happy-go-lucky, like it's not like Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
That's true. That is a happy-go-lucky film, man. That is.
Talk about a gem of a movie.
Yeah, we'll go back through and
we'll do
and
our
watch
backlog
it at some point. Yeah, because we have we want to expand the podcast to other stuff, like beyond just movies that are out right now. We want to. I feel like it'd be fun in October. We talked about this to do like a Harry Potter rewatch for all of them. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
So, but we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll do one this week.
I kept thinking in this movie about what the bloopers must look like.
Yeah.
Because that had to, like, it was painful and funny to watch. Mm-hmm. That had to be so painful and funny to act.
I don't think I could be a person on set in this movie. Like, I think that I would laugh every single time. I think I'd be like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my entire life, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Like, I.
it'd be interesting. Maybe we'll watch the bloopers. Maybe at some point we'll like get a used DVD or Blu-ray copy from like some used store at one point and just like return it after a while, just to watch the bloopers. I feel like that'd be worth it, but who knows?
Yeah.
So, good times. Well, we'll see you next time, and thanks for watching, guys. You know what? We should start doing this at the end. Guys, go ahead and comment what you thought about this movie, if you've seen this movie, or just, general comments in general. Need to drive up that engagement, very businessy of me. And then we also answer the poll if you're on Spotify. I have a poll on Spotify. If you're listening on an Apple podcast, that's cool. Just share it, Let people know. Spread the word of mouth. We've got some Russians and Austrians and Danes listening to us. I know all of that. That's really cool. If you're, shout out to the Danes. They make Legos, okay? I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear any fucking slander about the Danes. And that'd be cool. Awesome. We'll see you next time, guys.
Bye.